In a bustling city filled with dreams and aspirations, a young man named David was on the brink of greatness, or so he thought. With ambitions as high as the skyscrapers surrounding him, he poured his heart and soul into his startup, a tech company he believed would change the world. However, after 2 failed attempts, the weight of disappointment pressed heavily on his shoulders. As night fell one evening, David sat alone in his dimly lit apartment, surrounded by crumpled sketches of ideas that had never taken flight. The flickering light from a single lamp cast shadows that danced around the room, mirroring the turmoil in his heart. His phone buzzed, breaking the heavy silence. It was a message from his grandfather. "Come over. I need to talk to you." With a mix of curiosity and dread, David made his way to his grandfather's home. The familiar scent of coffee and baked goods greeted him, but it did little to ease his anxiety. He sank into a worn armchair, avoiding his grandfather's knowing gaze. "I'm failing, Grandpa," he finally confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "Everything I touch turns to dust." His grandfather leaned forward, his eyes sharp yet gentle. "Have you ever heard the story of the diamond in the rough?" David shook his head, intrigued. "Diamonds are formed under immense pressure. Each failure is like a layer of rock, hiding the brilliance within you. But you must be willing to dig deep." David felt a flicker of hope, but it quickly faded. What did he have to show for his efforts? He left his grandfather's house that night with a newfound resolve, but still burdened by the fear of failure. The next morning, as he scrolled through his emails, a message caught his eye. An invitation to pitch his latest idea to a prominent investor, someone whose approval could change everything. Excitement and dread intertwined as he prepared for the meeting, practicing his pitch in front of the mirror, visualizing success. On the day of the pitch, David arrived at the sleek glass office of the investor, a towering figure known for his ruthless business tactics. The air was thick with tension as David walked into the room, his heart pounding like a drum. He introduced himself, but just as he began his pitch, the investor's phone rang, slicing through his confidence like a knife. The call lasted only a moment, but it felt like an eternity. When the investor finally hung up, he looked at David with a hint of impatience. "Get to the point, kid. I don't have all day." David's mind raced, the pressure mounting. What if this was another failure? With shaky hands, he laid out his idea, feeling the weight of every previous disappointment pressing down on him. As he spoke, the investor's expression shifted from indifference to intrigue. David sensed a spark, a glimmer of interest. Just as he reached the climax of his pitch, the investor interrupted him with a question that took him off guard. "What makes you think you can succeed where others have failed?" The question hung in the air like a storm cloud, suffocating him. Memories of his failures flashed before his eyes. The sleepless nights, the lost savings, the heartache of letting down those who believed in him. But in that moment of vulnerability, something shifted within David. He remembered his grandfather's words, "Dig deep." He took a deep breath, his voice steadying as he replied, "Because I refuse to give up. I've learned from every setback, and each failure has made me more determined to succeed." The investor paused, the weight of David's words sinking in. After what felt like an eternity, he leaned back, a thoughtful look crossing his face. "You've got guts, kid. I'll give you that." He agreed to invest, but with one condition. David had to prove himself in 6 months. With a mix of relief and fear, David accepted the challenge. Over the next few months, he worked tirelessly, facing countless obstacles. There were days when hope seemed distant, but he kept pushing forward, fueled by the belief that his hard work would pay off. Then came the day of reckoning. 6 months later, David stood before the investor again, this time with a fully developed product. The room was silent as he unveiled his creation, and for a moment, the world felt still. The investor scrutinized every detail, his expression inscrutable. Finally, he spoke. "You've done well, David. I didn't expect you to pull this off. You've turned failure into success." David felt a rush of emotions, tears threatening to spill as he realized the journey he had taken. He had fought against the odds, overcoming the self-doubt that once consumed him. He had discovered not just a successful business, but a stronger version of himself, a man who could rise from failure and embrace the challenges ahead. As he left the meeting, the weight of uncertainty had lifted. David understood that success wasn't just about achieving goals. It was about resilience, growth, and the willingness to face each day with renewed strength. With each step, he felt a fire ignite within him, propelling him toward the future. The world was his stage, and he was ready to shine.